Something happened in April that most people missed. A company called Kite launched its mainnet, and alongside it, they launched something called the Kite Agent Passport, an identity and payments layer built not for humans but for AI agents. An AI agent can now hold its own verified identity. It can hold funds, it can make payments on your behalf without you approving each transaction. Let me say that again because it matters. Without you approving each transaction. Now, I spent years building infrastructure that gave humans a verified mobile identity. I wrote the first mobile identity API specification in 2013, invented mobile number verification in 2016. I built Mobile Connect across 60 plus mobile operators. The whole purpose of that work was to answer one question: who is this person really is, and can we trust them to act that person in this system? Now, machines need the same thing, and we are not ready yet for what that means. Not because agent passports are a bad idea, they are not. They are an inevitable idea. The real question, the one almost nobody is asking clearly, is this: when an agent has its own passport, who is actually responsible for what it does with it? This video is about that. Hello and welcome back. I am Gautam. Think about what a passport does for a human. It proves who you are. It proves which country stands behind that identity. It lets you move across borders, enter systems, and act in the world with a record attached. Every time you use it, something is logged. An agent passport does the same thing for software and machines. The Kite Agent Passport gives an AI agent a programmable, verified wallet. The agent can hold funds, it can make purchase on your behalf, it has pending limits you have set. It has authorized destinations, the places it is permitted to transact with, and Kite Chain underlying infrastructure is built specifically to settle those transactions. Not card rails, not traditional payment systems, a layer designed from ground up for agent-driven commerce. Right now, Kite is integrated with over 90 service providers, shopping, travel, subscriptions, agentic workflows that require payment at every step. And just to be clear, this is not just Kite. Stripe launched a machine payments protocol. Google built AP2, an agent payment authorization standard using cryptographically signed mandates. Coinbase created something called X402, an HTTP native settlement layer for machine-to-machine transactions. AWS launched Bedrock Agent Core Payments in May this year, and Visa and MasterCard are also running pilots in this space. The entire payments industry is building the infrastructure for agents to transact autonomously. The question is no longer whether this happens. It is already happening. The question is what trust architecture sits underneath it, and that's extremely critical. I want to draw the parallel to my own career explicitly because it is the lens I use when I look at this. When I was building Mobile Connect, we were solving exactly this problem, I think. Not for agents though, for humans. The SIM card gave a mobile subscriber a cryptographic anchor. Number Verify let a digital service with no friction, no password, no form to fill, no OTP, that the person holding this phone with the SIM is the person who owns this number. Mobile Connect extended that into a federated identity layer across mobile operator. The underlying architecture was always the same. You need an identity that is scoped. It only works in certain contexts. It needs to be verifiable. A third party can confirm it without the credential owner having to explain themselves again and again and again. And it needs to be revocable. If something goes wrong, you can pull it back. agent passports are solving the same problem for a different subject, for machines and software, not for humans. That shift from verifying humans to verifying AI agents is one of the most significant transitions in identity infrastructure in at least 20 years. And it is happening press releases and protocol announcements that most people just scroll past. Quick question for you. Would you trust an AI agent with your credit card and no approval step? One word in the comments, please. Yes or no? I ask this because your answer to that question is actually a design requirement. It tells builders like the ones at Kite, at Stripe, at Google, Coinbase, what the trust threshold needs to be before autonomous agent payments become mainstream. Please subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the shifts like this before they become front page news. Not for the alarm, for the detailed, honest analysis. Now, here is the part that actually keeps me thinking. There is something that identity infrastructure builders understand intuitively, and that most people only discover when something goes wrong. Solving identity is not the same as solving accountability, and that distinction matters. When a human delegates authority to a lawyer, to a power of attorney, to an employee, that delegation has certain properties associated with it. It is scoped. Power of attorney for property decisions does not cover medical decisions. It is time bound, it expires, it is recorded. There is a paper or digital trail, and it is revocable. At any point, the delegating party can withdraw it. Agent to agent delegation does not yet have those guarantees, not reliably and also not universally. A 2026 scan of roughly 2000 MCP servers, so MCP is the protocol that Anthropic built to let AI agents call tools. It found that every single one lacked every single one. The agents were acting with no verified identity at all, and that's alarming. The passport problem is not just about giving agents an identity. It is about what happens in the spaces between the agents when one delegates to another in chains that no human is watching in real time. Here is the accountability question that is genuinely unresolved at the moment. If an agent with a verified Kite passport makes a bad transaction, fraudulent payment, a contract signed in error, a service subscription that cannot be cancelled, who is liable? Is it the agent's developer, the platform that issued the passport, the human who deployed the agent and set the spending limits, or the company whose merchant system accepted the transaction? There is no settled answer at the moment, unfortunately. Not in law, not in protocol, not in most enterprise governance frameworks. And the scale of this problem is not small. KPMG's 2026 cybersecurity report found that non-human identities, AI agents, service accounts, API tokens, automated systems now outnumber human identities in the average enterprise by 80 to 1. And in cloud native environments, that ratio reaches 144 to 1. In a Fortune 500 financial institution, which are audited recently, researchers found 4.2 million non-human identities against 50,000 human accounts. A 2025 World Economic Forum analysis found that 51% of organizations have no clear ownership of their AI identities. The agents exist, the accountability does not. Gartner predicted that through 2026, at least 80% of unauthorized AI transactions will not come from external attacks, but from internal policy violations. Agents acting outside their intended scope, not maliciously, just without adequate governance. This is now a board level concern. This is not a technical one. Delinea, CyberArk, Omada, every major identity governance provider is saying the same thing in different ways, in different languages. The tools built for human identity governance cannot handle the velocity, the volume, or the autonomy of the agent identities. Estonia understood this. June 17, 2026, the Estonian Prime Minister approved a framework for what he called AI personal identification codes. Government issued digital identities for AI agents, and that's very interesting. The first of their kind at national level, separate from the human or company behind the AI agent. Scoped to specific pre-approved actions, auditable at any time. His framing was precise and I like it. It must be clear who is acting on whose behalf, with what rights, and who is ultimately responsible. That sentence is the entire brief for agent identity governance. 6 clauses. Most enterprises cannot answer any of them. China announced its own framework shortly after. The race to define sovereign identity standards for AI agents has begun now. And most companies have not even started asking the questions that governments are now trying to legislate answers for. So let me land where I always want to land. Not with a verdict, with a distinction. The real barrier to agentic AI was never intelligence. The models are already intelligent enough to book your flight, file your tax return, negotiate your supplier contract. We proved that functionally. The barrier was always the trust architecture. Could the system prove who the agent is? Could it constrain what the agent can do? Could it record what actually happened? Could it hold someone accountable when something went wrong? Kite, agent, passport, and the broader wave of agent identity infrastructure it represents, it's not just about the Kite agent passport, begins to answer the first question, identity, and that's important. So it's answering who is this agent, the record, the accountability. Those require governance layers that most organizations have not built yet. Most protocols have not specified yet as well, and most regulators have not defined it. Paying for a flight autonomously is a small, simple capability. Building the accountability and trust architecture that makes autonomous payment trustworthy and at scale, that is the decade of work that sits ahead of us. So here is the question I want to leave with you. Should AI agents be allowed to transact independently at all? Or should every agent action, every payment, every signed commitment require a human checkpoint? There is no easy answer. The checkpoint model is safe but does not scale. The autonomous model scales but concentrates risk in infrastructure that does not yet have the accountability layers to hold it. What I know from at least 20 years of building identity systems is this. We spent decades building trust infrastructure for humans in the internet, for their mobile numbers, for their biometrics, for their digital certificates. Now we are building the same infrastructure for machines. And the decisions made in this moment in protocol standards, in passport frameworks, in governance policies that most people will never read. And this will define how much control we keep and how much we hand over for the next maybe 50 years. This is not a reason to fear agent identity infrastructure. It is a reason to build it deliberately and keeping us humans at the center of it. Think carefully and please always stay curious. Thank you. I am Gautam.